Hello and welcome to Goodreads Wrapped 2025. All right, class is in session. I may have taken a couple of notes. I don't even know where to begin. I read so many books at the beginning of this year and then I completely fell off in the summer and started reading again this fall. Do you want to know how many books I read this year? 116. Last year I read 73. Quite the difference. However, I would like to say that it's because I was on so many airplanes this year, which is amazing, and my flight to Hawaii was freaking long. I actually think I read 6 books on my flight to Hawaii alone. Or maybe it was a combination of there and back. I don't know, whatever. My longest book this year was 772 pages, which was Death and Dawn by Carissa Broadbent. I read a lot of Carissa Broadbent this year. My shortest book of the year was The Fall Risk by Abby Jimenez. It's only 81 pages, more of a short story. And I believe it's my first Abby Jimenez book. I don't even know if I've read one since. However, I did buy an Abby Jimenez book that I do want to read just because I loved her writing style. I read this book at the beginning of January, I believe. I remember the character had a fish named Swim Shady, and the guy was sending unsolicited deck pics. If you're not sure about getting into romance like me, I definitely recommend the short story or an Abby Jimenez book just because her writing seems to be so funny. The main genres I read this year are easily thrillers, fantasies, like a lot of fantasies, humor, autobiographies, and a few romances sprinkled in, and maybe even 2 self-help books. I'm gonna go over some of the books that I read this year that are the most memorable. Then I'm gonna be doing a rapid fire rating review, and then we're gonna go over my favorite books of 2025. All of my reviews will be spoiler free. Starting off with Fireborn. I read this very recently actually, which is why I'm starting with it because it's fresh on my brain. It's about 2 orphans that are in an elite dragon program and they're competing for a leadership role. There's a lot of secrets in this book. It's very reminiscent of Fourth Wing to me, especially with the dragons, the politics, and some of the family situations. I gave it 4 stars. Hopping over to Lauren Roberts, I read Reckless, Fearless, and Fearful this year. Very popular book series. You can find a million reviews of it, so I won't go into depth about it, but I personally love it. Let's hop over to Red Queen. Drama! Book drama! So I read the first 4 books of this series, and I did it because everybody who talks about Powerless series is always like comparing the 2, and I love the Powerless series, or trilogy I should say. Over the course of the first 4 books that I read, I gave an average of 4 stars. I very much enjoyed them, and I definitely see the similarities, but I don't think it's anything illegal. That's just my personal opinion. I don't want to be in this drama, okay? Next up we have a duology, Anatomy and Immortality by Dana Schwartz. Yeah. This duology I loved. I really was not sure based on the description of them if I would like them, but very Frankenstein vibe, very macabre. I love the characters and I thought that there was great character development. I remember being squeamish at some parts because again, Frankenstein vibe. I would recommend reading this in the fall too, like Halloween time. This was the year that I discovered Taylor Jenkins Reid. I swear I read 4 of her books, but I can only think of 3 that I read. Daisy Jones and the Six being the first one, and I actually thought I was going to hate this book, but it was available on audio at my library, so I got it, and I loved it. I definitely recommend the audio because there are so many different characters, and you have to fact check me on this, but there is like a TV show or a movie about the book, and I'm pretty sure the actors from that do the audiobook. And there's a lot of like interviews and stuff, so I definitely recommend the audiobook. 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I really did not know what I was going into with this book, but I know that a lot of my friends gave it a high rating, and I gave it 4 stars. I did not expect everything that happened to happen in this book. I really love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing style. I don't think she could write a bad book. Atmosphere is my most recent book that I read from her on a road trip actually, and I gave that one 5 stars. Next up we have Lights Out by Nevessa Allen. I believe I also listened to this on audio, and this book made me second guess my morals. You could not pay me to tell you my real thoughts on this book. The Games Gods Play by Abigail Owens. I am so over books about Greek gods, so I thought this one was gonna bore me to death, and it is a bit of a longer book, so I don't even know why I read it, but I did, and I'm so happy I did. I was not bored of the Greek gods in this book. There is a second one out, and I really want to read that one. The Greek gods pick a champion to compete, but it's not the type of competitions that you're probably thinking. It's not like the Hunger Games or what's that show? Squid Games? They're still kind of deadly, but more whimsical. I found this book to tie together really nicely. There was a lot of foreshadowing that I really appreciated. Twisted Love by Anna Huang. I don't know how to pronounce that either. The first 40% of this book, I was so bored. Total meh. And then it kind of turned into a thriller, which I thought this was just gonna be like a really light romance. I really don't look into the books that I'm reading for the most part. 3 stars. Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. Now, I feel like people either love this book and series or they absolutely do not understand it and don't like it. I gave this book 5 stars because of the emotions that it made me feel. Younger me definitely could relate to this book, and so I was going through it while I was reading this book, and I've been so scared to read the other books in the series just because I loved the first one so much. But I will be continuing the series in 2026, mark my words. Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarrow. Obviously, this is a really popular series as well. This was my favorite book of the series so far. I don't know if it's a hot take or not. And fun fact, I went to the midnight release party this year for that book, and it's my first time ever going to a midnight release party of anything, so that was fun. And you can check out my video on that if you want. The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I think I've read 3 or 4 of the books in this series. I think 3. This is one of my favorite book series, and I read 3 books in a row on the same airplane. That's how much I enjoyed it. I think I just really love Carissa Broadbent's writing style. Wait, no, because I forgot to tell you my most hated book of the year. I gave out my first 1-star review ever, and it was to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. Now, the cover of this book is so pretty, and this is why I believe in my heart that they made that quote, "Don't judge a book by its cover," because of this freaking book, because it's so pretty. It's such a boring book. I'm so sorry. I feel like I'm being so mean, but like, why? Okay, get back to the good books. And now we're entering into my rapid fire reviews. The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston, 3 stars. Love Ashley Poston, by the way, one of my favorite authors. Rebel Witch by Kristen Cicerelli, 5 stars, not surprised. The Will of the Many, 5 stars. Kristen Hanna, 4 Winds, 4 stars. Nightingale, 4.5 stars. The Women, 4 stars. The Great Alone, 5 stars. Listen for the Lie by Amy Tintera, 5 stars. Verity by Colleen Hoover, my first Colleen Hoover book, 3 stars. Don't Let Him In, Lisa Jewell, 5 stars. The first 3 books of the Guild series, average 3.5 stars. Very smutty. Assistant to the Villain, 3.75. Apprentice to the Villain, 3.5. A Flicker in the Dark, 4.5 stars. Voice of the Ocean by Kelsey and Pichike, 4 stars. The Night in the Moth by Rachel Gillig, 5 stars. Woo! Okay, now we're gonna talk about my favorite books of 2025. Okay, one of them I think I've already mentioned, The Will of the Many. Not Quite Dead Yet by Holly Jackson. I am a Holly Jackson lover. I think I've read all of her books. One of the few authors I've done that for. Every single one of the Finlay Donovan books. I read the first book last year technically, but the rest of them I have read in this year. Actually, there's still one more that I have to read and I'm so excited. I even love the audios for them, if you prefer audiobooks. Butcher and Blackbird, I am obsessed with this book. This is one of the most perfect books I've ever read. Very obsessed with the SK, don't think I can say that on YouTube, romance, which I was not expecting to love this book, but I am obsessed. I did like the books after it, just not as much. Daughter of No World, is that also by Carissa Broadbent? It totally is. It felt very Throne of Glass to me, and I'm obsessed with Throne of Glass. And finally, I'm kind of embarrassed to say that this is my all-time favorite book that I read in 2025, just because I thought it would be like a more, I don't know, I want to say I thought I would like a more mature book overall, because I read some like amazing books this year. I gave out a lot of good ratings. However, my favorite book of all of 2025 that I read was Phantasma by Kaylee Smith. This is like the perfect book for me. It's like if Belladonna and Caraval had a baby. I don't know what else to say about it. The second book in this series is called Enchantra. That one got a 4-star for me. Still really good, but this is perfect. All right, 2026. Can't wait to see what I read in ya.
No, I feel like I can wear that better. That came off a little weird.
Can't wait to see what I read in 2026.
Why are you like this?
Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if there's any book recommendations you have for me for 2026, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. Hello? Hello? Am I in focus?